In this video, you will learn how to wrap images around a three-dimensional object like the Warner Brother images scene wrapped around this shoe and the Angry Bird images used in this shoe advertisement. We are going to start out with a more simple project by wrapping stripes around a baseball. Now you can find this resource with the baseball and stripes in the Media Arts Share Drive under Exercise Tools and Resources. The image, as it is in the Share Drive, has three layers. The background layer, which is just the baseball, the finished look, which shows the stripes wrapped around, and then a layer called wrap stripes around ball. You'll want to turn off the visibility of the finished look. Now, when we're thinking about wrapping the stripes around this baseball, we want to think a little bit about what a globe looks like. So we have the longitude and the latitude lines at the globe, and the lines meet at the top and the bottom at the north and south pole of the globe. So kind of keep that in mind as you're thinking about how you're going to wrap the stripes around the baseball. To start out, I'm going to be on the layer that has these vertical stripes, and I'm going to press Command T. That is my transform shortcut, and you've used this before. Now, the new step that we're going to do is hold down Control on the keyboard and then click on the stripes at the same time. This dialog box will appear, and we want to select Warp. Now, a lot of this takes some trial and error, and you're really using your visual knowledge as a designer to see what looks best. There's more than one way to wrap the stripes around the baseball, and we want to get it just in like a very convincing manner. So you'll notice that there are these points that you can pull on the edge of the stripes image. It might also help you to go over to the layers panel and turn the opacity down a little bit. I like to do this as kind of a trick to see the layer behind my work to see where I'm wrapping it around. So you will want to take some time to adjust the points to see what looks visually convincing to feel like, hey, these stripes really are wrapped around the baseball. So I'm pulling the points. And you will notice there are also some handlebars that are showing up, right? So we've used handlebars before on curves, and you can adjust the handlebars to adjust the angle of the curve. This is looking okay. It's not super convincing though. I would want to spend a bit more time really pulling the stripes, thinking about getting my vertical lines closer together at kind of the north and south pole of the baseball. And then when I'm finished, I would turn the opacity up all the way. Okay, so you should have a finished look that looks somewhat similar to the finished look layer. And you can always check those by turning on both layers, the visibility at the same time. After you've done that, you're going to want to work on creating this look of a finished baseball, so one that has a print on it as well. And so I have begun this with my tropical stripes layer, and so I've created this feeling that there is an image curved around the baseball. So you will be choosing a theme for your baseball and coming up with two different images to use. It could be something like tropical themed, maybe it is a character or cartoon or something else that you're interested in. There's some examples of Americana themed baseballs in the Media Arts Share Drive. So let me show you now how you will wrap an actual image around this baseball. I'm going to start out by making this new layer in the layers panel that is empty. It is above the background layer. And I've already chosen a tropical print that I really like. I'm going to zoom in on that. It's very small right now, so I'm pressing Command plus to zoom in on this image. I found this through a simple Google image search, and that's totally fine for this project. I'm going to use my rectangular selection marquee tool to select the pattern. I press Command C to copy. I'm going back to the ball and stripes file. I'm pressing Command V to paste it onto that new layer. And I had another layer up here, so I'm going to delete that. I will rename this new layer by just doing a slow click on the name of the layer, and I'm going to call it Tropical Pattern 1. And now I need to transform this pattern. I'm going to press Command T to transform, and I want to rotate it a bit before I start transforming it so that it kind of fits more into the shape of the lower portion of the baseball, which is a bit wider than it is tall. So I've placed my image so it is longer lengthwise. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is control click on the image, select warp, and again, I'm going to turn the opacity down so I can see where I'm working. Now, we want to think about covering the leather portion of this baseball, right? So that's going right in between where the stitching meets. And so I'm going to start pulling the image to fit into this area. This should take you a decent amount of time to get your image to really just fit in place well and to be really convincing. Again, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to warp the image, but you want it to feel really believable and convincing. You can use the handlebars, of course, to adjust the curve. And you want it to kind of flow around the baseball. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. It is coming a little bit off the side of the baseball, but that's fine for now. I'm going to hit return. I will turn the opacity back up, and we notice a couple of things. The pattern is very flat, and so that doesn't feel super convincing. You could turn the opacity down to see the texture of the baseball showing through, but that's just okay. So we're going to turn the opacity back to 100%, and we can change the mode of this layer. So right now the mode is set to normal. I'm going to try something like lighten or soft light to create this texture and realistic view. I'm pretty happy with the soft light. One thing that's bothering me a bit though and doesn't really look realistic is that this pattern is showing over the stitching of the baseball. To get rid of that, we can go to the background layer of the ball. We'll turn off the visibility for now of the tropical pattern. And I'm going to use my quick selection tool. That's the fourth tool from the top of your toolbar to select each of those red threads. So I'm going to go through, and there's enough contrast between the red stitching and the white leather of the baseball that if I just click on it with the quick selection tool, it selects it right away. So I'm going through and selecting each one. And I'll just select those for now, go back to my tropical pattern layer. And so now I have the area selected, right? We see that dotted line around the red stitching, but the stitching's not actually what's selected right now because I'm on the tropical pattern layer. So the tropical pattern layer is selected. I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. That gets rid of the stitching. I can press Command D to deselect, and I've got a really nice look. Once you've completed the lower portion of the baseball, you will want to choose a second pattern that relates to your theme and wrap it around the upper portion of the ball. Good luck!